Hey guys, so I finally remembered the password of this YouTube channel again and I wanted to make some more YouTube revenue on the site, so I decided I might as well make the review of the OnePlus Nord 2. I feel that this is the best OnePlus phone of 2021 because OnePlus has gotten a lot of things right here, and apart from that, this is a very experimental phone for them. First of all, it's a first OnePlus device with a Mediatek processor, and second of all, it's their first phone with the Oppo partnership. If you guys don't know, OnePlus and Oppo are going to partner more, and their OxygenOS is basically based on top of Oppo's ColorOS. So you will see a lot of Oppo bits here and there, but overall I feel OnePlus Nord 2 is a very complete package. A lot of complaints that I had with OnePlus devices have been resolved with this phone, and it starts with the camera. I've never been a fan of OnePlus's camera app or their software processing. I've called their cameras trash, I've complained about them. In fact, I wasn't even happy with the OnePlus 9 Pro's camera, which was the special Hasselblad edition. And even after that, I wasn't happy with the camera performance. But the Nord 2 changes that. First of all, you get Oppo's camera app here. It's completely lifted off from an Oppo or a Realme phone. And there is nothing OnePlus about this here. And I don't know if it's this new camera app or the new 50 megapixel sensor, but the photos from the OnePlus Nord 2 are actually surprisingly good. At first glance, you wouldn't even feel that this is a OnePlus phone because a lot of problems that you normally see with OnePlus devices aren't present here. I'm putting this against the OnePlus 9R, which has the same camera as the OnePlus 8T, and these are expensive devices than the Nord 2, and you can see that OnePlus 9R has that typical OnePlus problem where the photos are contrasty. Sometimes there is a very prominent bluish tint in the photos, the skin tones are not that great, and at the same time the OnePlus Nord 2 completely fixes all of these things. The dynamic range is very good. Here the detailing is also great, the skin tones are nice, and the best part, OnePlus has gotten the colors right for the most part. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the camera's performance, and it gets even better when the lights go off. If you see the low light photos from this camera, you will be absolutely delighted at them because you can see that there's so much light into the photos. There is so much, detailing in the photos as compared to the OnePlus 9R. So the low light mode is definitely something that took me by surprise, and it's great on the OnePlus Nord 2. Even if I compare it to other smartphone cameras in the same price segment like the iQOO 7 or the Poco F3 GT, you will see that Nord 2 is extremely superior in low light conditions. So yeah, in low lighting, this phone is a champ, but when you turn the lights on, when you go out in sunlight, even here the OnePlus Nord 2 performs brilliantly. I think it's on par with the iQOO 7. iQOO 7 is better sometimes. It pulls in a better dynamic range in the photos as compared to the Nord 2, but this camera is way better than the Poco F3 GT. The skin tones, the overall processing, I love it on the OnePlus Nord 2, and the iQOO 7 and the Nord 2 are two great cameras in this price segment. The OnePlus Nord 2 is better in low light. So overall, if you consider everything, I love the primary sensor of the OnePlus Nord 2. It's one of the phones you should buy for the camera around 30,000 rupees. But OnePlus being OnePlus, there are still a couple of inconsistencies in this camera app. Sometimes it overprocesses things a lot, especially when you have the HDR mode on. So when you zoom into the photos, you will see that the processing looks a bit more artificial. Sometimes the skin tones when you take photos in HDR mode look artificial. So there are a couple of little things that OnePlus needs to fix, but overall the primary sensor performs great. What was disappointing is the secondary camera. The ultra wide is just an 8 megapixel one. I feel that this price segment deserves a 13 or a 16 megapixel ultra wide, but this 8 megapixel just gets the job done. It's nothing out of the blue, it's nothing out of the box, and it's quite average. And sadly, OnePlus does not give you a macro lens. It looks like they want you to keep a social distance with your subject, so you can't go close to them, you can't take macro shots because there is no macro lens here. The front-facing camera is also decent. I didn't find anything extraordinary about it. It just clicks decent selfies. I'm throwing them against the iQOO 7 and the Poco F3 GT. For me, iQOO 7 took the best selfies, which was then followed by the OnePlus Nord 2. And finally, the last one is the Poco F3 GT. So you guys let me know, how did you like the camera? I was personally very impressed by it. You also get optical image stabilization, which is very handy while recording videos. The 4K 30 FPS samples from this phone are very stable, very smooth. The quality is also really good. I prefer it compared to the iQOO 7 or the Poco F3 GT. But the only thing that bugs me is that you don't get 4K 60 FPS support here. So if you were expecting to shoot smooth videos in 4K, you can't do that. You're limited to 4K 30. If you want 60 FPS, you will have to drop a setting down to 1080p. But still, amazing camera. Looks like the Oppofication worked here, and you also see a lot of Oppofication in the software. The OnePlus Nord 2 runs the latest OxygenOS, which is based on top of ColorOS, and here you will see a lot of Oppo bits in the settings menu. Actually, if you take a quick glance through the home screen, through the quick toggles, through the app drawer, everything looks very similar to any other OxygenOS phone, as you can see on the OnePlus Nord CE and the OnePlus Nord 2. But as soon as you jump into settings, here you start seeing a lot of color from the ColorOS, because here all of the wordings, the text, the layout is very similar to an Oppo phone than to a OnePlus phone. As you can see, you've got the personalization settings here, convenience tools. All of this text is directly taken from ColorOS. All the layout is from ColorOS. So yeah, here you see some of the Oppofication, but I personally don't have a problem because OnePlus has stuck to its roots here. There is still no bloatware, no useless apps, there are no ads inside this phone. So the software experience is still very clean. It's very fast, it's very fluid, and I personally did not run into any kind of lags or stutters even at 90 Hz. Although what was a little bit annoying was that the camera app this time takes the permission for phone as well, and this is the first for a OnePlus device. Samsung, Xiaomi, iQOO, Oppo, all of them, Realme have done this before. All of their camera apps take the permission for the phone app. But OnePlus did it for the first time, so a lot of people started panicking. And apart from that, when you launch the camera app for the first time, you also get this pop-up, which is something that you didn't see on OnePlus phones before. So because of that, a lot of reviewers lost their shit and they were like, OnePlus is sending your data to China or something like that. But don't worry, it's nothing like that. I don't think you need to worry about this. And apart from that, like I said, the software experience still is very clean and fluid. But where OnePlus effed up, according to me, is in terms of updates. So the thing is, by default, this phone has automatic updates turned on. So what happened is that a lot of people, while using their OnePlus Nord 2, randomly got an update. Their phone started rebooting and applying the update, which is quite annoying. Let's say you are in the middle of something important and you want to get something done, and your phone suddenly shuts off and goes into update. That's very annoying. And that's not the worst part. When the phone went into update, you see this bootloader setting and it was in Chinese. Well, when you translated it said please wait and something like that. But then still, why does this phone show a Chinese text? And that became a matter of concern for a lot of people. I personally knew that this was basically the bootloader was set to Chinese language and that's why. But OnePlus should take care of these things. Some people got this notification in English, I got it in Chinese. But what I'm saying is OnePlus needs to polish the software a little bit more so that these small things that might create a lot of panic between users, people like to create panic these days, can be avoided. So let's see. OnePlus promises 2 major updates and 3 years of security updates. So I'm gonna wait and see how the update situation is on the OnePlus Nord 2. This phone, like I said before, is the first OnePlus phone with a Mediatek chip, and you get the Dimensity 1200, which is one of my favorite processors of 2021. It's very efficient, it doesn't heat up that much, and the gaming performance of this chipset is brilliant. I've done a detailed PUBG/BGMI review on my Hindi channel, so you can go there and check it out. But the point is, the gaming performance of this phone is amazing for the price. It offers constant 60 FPS in BGMI. The performance is great. I didn't run into any lags or stutters or slowdowns, and in my case I personally never felt any overheating or throttling issues as well. Even in terms of day-to-day usage, this phone completely flies. App opening speeds, multitasking, everything's just buttery smooth here. Memory management, everything's great, and I have no reason to complain. Things work very well at 90 Hz too, and the Dimensity 1200 is more than capable of anything that you throw at it. With the OnePlus Nord CE, I did run into a couple of stutters and lags at 90 Hz because of the 750G there, but then the Dimensity 1200 on the Nord 2 is a killer processor and you have no problems with it when it comes to the performance. Even when it comes to battery, this processor is a champ because the 4500 mAh of battery at least lasted me 1 full day even on a heavy usage, with screen on times ranging from 6 to 6.5 hours. And the best part is that this phone gets OnePlus's Warp Charge 65, so you can go from 0 to 100 in just 30 to 35 minutes, which is absolutely insane. Trust me, it spoiled me so much that now when I go back to any other phone like my iPhone 12, I get so irritated with the charging speeds on that phone, because here I can use the phone till 5%, 4%, 2% battery, plug it in for 15 minutes and I'm good to go. So yeah, the battery life and the charging combo is also crazy on this phone and I have no reason to complain about it. So great cameras, performance is great, software is good, battery charging, everything's great. What's the catch? Well, it's the display. On paper, it's a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED panel which gives you a 90 Hz of refresh rate, Full HD Plus resolution. What could possibly go wrong? Well, honestly, after using this display with a couple of other phones, I don't think OnePlus chose the best panel here. First of all, the peak brightness is not that high, so when you take it outdoors in comparison to the iQOO 7 or the Poco F3 GT, this display is not that visible in direct sunlight. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying you can't read it, but the thing is when you put it against the other phones, they are much more visible, they are much more clear when it comes to the outdoor visibility. And the same thing is applicable when you watch a lot of content. When you watch HDR videos specifically, here I felt that the darker regions were not that great. But then the HDR performance is not that great. You don't get HDR 10 plus here. And as a result, when I play HDR videos, even on the OnePlus Nord CE, which is the cheaper phone, they look better there as compared to the OnePlus Nord 2. So that's a little bit annoying. I mean, if you just have this phone, you won't notice it. But I have like 10 different phones. So when I keep this phone against them, I could see the difference. This is definitely not the best panel. It doesn't even get support for HDR in Netflix, which even the cheaper OnePlus Nord CE and the older OnePlus Nord got. So OnePlus has cheaped out on the display a bit. So if you watch a lot of content, you would probably like the display on the Poco F3 GT, Nord CE or the iQOO 7 more. But you've got stereo speakers here, so that's great. They sound good. I've got no complaints. That's an upgrade from the old Nord. And there is also an integrated fingerprint sensor inside this display. It's fast, it's fluid. OnePlus has been putting them in all of their phones and the speed and the accuracy is great. I've really got no reason to complain about it. This display is protected by Gorilla Glass as well, and it comes with a very cheap screen protector installed. So I would recommend you to just get another one. This one's not that great. It feels very cheap and mine got scratched in like 2 to 3 days. But the overall build quality of this phone is quite good. I find it a step up from the old OnePlus Nord because here you've got a really nice matte finish back here. As you can see, this gray color is my favorite, and no matter how much you touch it, you won't find your fingerprints here. So the material used is very good. It doesn't reflect, it doesn't catch fingerprints, and it looks really pretty according to my opinion. You still have a plastic frame, so it doesn't feel as premium as something like the Poco F3 GT, but according to me, you've got a nice form factor. The phone is compact, not very heavy. The texture on the back also gives a really nice and premium feel in the hand, even if you use it without a case. So overall, I'm a fan of the build quality of this phone. You also get the alert slider here, which was missing on the OnePlus Nord CE, and even the haptics on the OnePlus Nord 2, they are amazing. So I've got nothing to complain about here. And even when we talk about the basics like the call quality, the network reception, everything's been great. You get support for 4G carrier aggregation. So if you use your phone a lot on 4G data, you will get better speeds. And when we talk about the 5G bands, you've got 6 to 7 bands in the Indian version. The international version, I think, even gets more bands. But it's nice to see that OnePlus is giving 6 to 7 5G bands compared to just 2 on the OnePlus 9 Pro. So yeah, OnePlus has got you covered in all of these basic things, and that's exactly the point of this phone. OnePlus hasn't really aimed the OnePlus Nord 2 at a particular user. For example, the Poco F3 GT is made for gamers, but that's not the case with this phone. This is made for an average user who wants an all-rounder phone for around 30,000 rupees. Someone who wants good camera, good performance, good battery, good charging, good software, and that OnePlus brand is also there. So overall, for 30,000 rupees, I think OnePlus Nord 2 is a great phone to buy. Sure, it has its shortcomings. The camera sometimes can be a little bit finicky. The display is not that great, and we are yet to see the whole picture with the OnePlus ColorOS Oppo partnership. So yeah, there are a couple of things, but still I feel for 30,000 rupees, this is a great overall smartphone and you're not gonna regret buying this phone. It's a step from OnePlus in the right direction, and I really had a great time using my OnePlus Nord 2. The only reason to go with something like the Poco F3 GT is if you want to save some money, or if you don't want the camera performance is not important to you and you only care about gaming and those triggers, then you can go with the Poco F3 GT. Same is the case with iQOO 7. If you don't mind FunTouchOS, if you don't mind that operating system that iQOO has, you can definitely go ahead with iQOO 7 as well. You've got Snapdragon 870 there. The cameras are also great. The display is better. So you can choose that phone as well. But for me, an overall great smartphone for 30,000 rupees is the OnePlus Nord 2, and I have no problems in recommending it. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then please hit the like button. If you guys didn't like it, then press the dislike button twice. And please give me some suggestions about what other content I should be putting on this channel. That's it for now. Thank you. Stay home and stay safe.